I grew up in your typical family unit: mom, dad, and lots of siblings. We went to church every Sunday, and we never missed a week. But something was missing. I knew that I needed to have a personal relationship with Jesus, but I didn't know how to do that. Instead, I was taught to read my Bible, to do good works, and to be an overall good person. When I went to college, a Christian college, I found myself quickly slipping away. After college, I got married, and I moved to Indiana. Once we made that move, we stopped going to church, unless we were home visiting our families. It wasn't that I didn't want to go. It was that my husband just didn't really seem to have any interest. As he turned his back on God, I found myself following in his footsteps. After being married for 3 years, I found myself in the mess of divorce. I was searching for acceptance, love, and companionship, but found myself turning to alcohol, drugs, and sexual sin for that temporary fulfillment. It wasn't long after this season that I found out I was pregnant with my son Lennox. I was scared. I was nervous, and I was disappointed in myself. I knew that I should have done so much better. I got my first invitation to Relevant Church, and I didn't go. I was 9 months pregnant, and there was no way that I was going to hide the fact that I was a single pregnant mom. That first Sunday that I came to Relevant Church, Pastor Muta's message was on Isaiah 43:19. He talked about cutting the ropes, and as I was sitting there, trying not to cry, I knew that there were so many ropes in my life that I needed to cut. Lennox was born shortly after, at the beginning of February 2016. I decided it was time for us to venture out, and we returned to Relevant Church. It wasn't long after our return that I decided to attend Growth Track, now Starting Point class. While going to these classes, I learned more about Relevant, the pastor and his wife, and not surprisingly, I learned a whole lot more about myself. It was at this point that I decided I wanted to serve in Re-Kids. I had always been on the worship team at my church back in Pennsylvania, so I decided that I would pursue that as well. I quickly learned that it wasn't just about having a servant's heart on a Sunday morning. It was about serving all week long. Since that time, I've learned to grow in my relationship with Jesus through daily devotionals and worship. I wouldn't be where I am today without the history that I have, but I also wouldn't be where I am today without my personal relationship with Christ. Yeah, it sucks my son has to grow up without his father, but ultimately he's growing up with the best father that there is, the only one that truly matters, his Heavenly Father. Living your life for Christ isn't easy. In fact, it's one of the hardest things to do. Pastor Derek said one Sunday, "Dying for Christ is the easy part. Living for Him is the hard part." Who are you going to live for? I've chosen to live for Christ, to bring my son up to know his Heavenly Father.